And we're live. Content provided at the event is for general information only, not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Any performance reference is historical and no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Any economic forecast set forth during the event may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that any strategy will be successful. These thoughts and opinions are those of Gimbal Financial and do not represent the views of LPL Financial. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member of FINRA, SIPC. Investment advice offered through Gimbal Financial, registered investment advisor, and separate entity from LPL Financial. Good morning, everyone.
Hey, welcome back, Amanda. I'm sure glad you read that today.
I didn't even watch last week's, I'll admit, but I'm sure you did great.
Well, it was a lot slower, put it that way.
That's all right. It's probably better. Our compliance people probably prefer that.
You know, these disclaimers are really good. I was just reading them, and this is true stuff. You know, I appreciate you reading those every week. We do the best we can. And for those of you who weren't on the pre-opener to this 10 o'clock call, we just have a good time together. We were really cracking up. And so I hope your Friday is starting off just as much fun as we're having here.
Right on.
Did you guys ever pay any attention to the Darwin Awards?
Yes.
The disclaimers in life often remind me of the Darwin Awards that let the buyer beware. I think my favorite Darwin Award was the guy that put the weather balloons on his lawn chair with a BB gun or something, and they saw him at like 8,000 or 10,000 feet in the air or something crazy like that. I would just let the buyer beware. I would encourage you out there to not be gullible in whatever you're doing, and just know disclaimers don't protect you, you protect you. So that's my opinion on disclaimers, but
God
people
gave you a great mind.
Exactly. There are people out there that would like to take advantage of you, and they may or may not. I don't know, but please be aware of what's going on around you. That's my disclaimer. How's that?
That's really good. Hey, I
like
do
that.
have a, you know, you do these giveaway, these books and things, and this is not going to be a giveaway, but if anybody can email me what kind of bicycle Jerry Seinfeld has in his apartment, you'll just be a winner today. And do you see this bicycle behind Keith? It reminds me of Jerry Seinfeld's apartment. And that bicycle belongs to our good friend Mo. That's a 1975 Motobacan made in France. And she bought that from the bike line just down the Monon from us. And anyway, my good friend Max Palmer shined that thing up and put new Italian/Indianapolis Silca bar tape on it. Man, it looks good. And so I just love the look of that over your shoulder, Keith.
Well, thanks. I referred you out as the bike guru last night. I don't know if anybody called you, but I had that sent to you because you know so much. I told him you could help him fix a chain or find somebody who could. So cheers. So I brought my, I don't know if you can read my mug. I just wake up every year on 9/11 and just a heart of compassion, patriotism, all kinds of feelings about this. Today I took a different route to work because my route wouldn't have brought me under the underpasses on I-69, and so I had to do that and beep at the guys flying the flags over there and just celebrating America. It's such a great country, such a great place to live, and realizing there are enemies of our country that would like nothing more than to attack us. Last month I found myself in Shanksville, is that the name of it? Shanksville, Pennsylvania. That's where the cowards that attacked us, they attacked, first of all, our commerce by going after Wall Street. Then they attacked our military by going after the Pentagon. And then finally they were, I think, attempting to go after our government by pointing that one that landed in Shanksville at Congress. So Doug and I visited that memorial in 2006. It was a chain link fence with a variety of things that people had left there, and it is an unbelievable memorial now. I'd encourage you, if you need a getaway. It's worth going for. It's probably, you could make it a day trip. It'd be a long day trip, but if you say wanted to drive to Pittsburgh, spend the night in Pittsburgh, then you could go see it in the morning and be back home the next day and have a good visit to see a little bit of U.S. history not too far away. You guys have any memories of what your thoughts are about 9/11?
My memories are seldom. I was in second grade, if that puts into perspective
Here we go.
for anyone. But I started to start off with that. But I do remember that morning, and I did go to school, but the memories are probably not the same memories you have. But I am repping my USA shirt today because I'm a proud American, and I'm thankful for our country.
Awesome.
I remember I was already in the office and didn't even know anything had happened. And one of our coworkers at the time, his wife called me, and she was just almost hysterical, saying, "Debbie, have you heard anything? Do you know what's going on? They say 2 planes have crashed into the both towers." And I didn't know anything about it. And then I remember about noon, my daughter called me. She was a senior that year in high school, and she was out of school at noon, and she called me freaking out because everybody was trying to get into the gas stations and just backed up clear down the highway in Pendleton. And, you know, it was just a crazy, crazy day and just unbelievable.
For me, you know, I got the Donald Trump hair going on in the wind, which I hope that gives you guys some laughter today. But for me, I remember several things about the day, but the season, it was a time when I had just bought an engagement ring.
Wow.
And I remember thinking, do I propose during this time? What does this look like? And we did. We got engaged a couple weeks after, and got married a couple months after, 3 months after. And so I think no matter what season you're going through in life or what season our country goes through, we press forward. We take courage, and even when others aren't, we can take courage and make some decisions that long term will just yield amazing results. I never knew what it'd be like to be married. I never dreamt of having 4 sons, but all of that had to happen with that engagement ring and that decision. And that was during the time of 9/11.
Well, thanks for your guys' thoughts. You hit on a wild card. Let's just say in June of 2002, the Tyners had their last child. So 9/11, it was a time of hope for us as a family. We looked at it as not a reason to cower. And so I know everybody reflects on it differently, and Amanda's, recollection of it's going to be a lot less than, some other people. Caleb, who just turned 18 doesn't have any recollection because he wasn't there, right? And so that would be like my recollection of Pearl Harbor. I don't really have recollection. I only have what I've learned. But I want to throw out a podcast, and I'm not endorsing the speaker so much as the podcast. It's called Free Brian Williams, and it's in a
That's
podcast.
a good one.
Yeah, it's in a podcast called Revisionist History. And why I throw this out there to you is I think to move forward in life, forgiveness is one of the greatest things you need to have. And one of the barriers to forgiveness is your memory, because you can recall things that people might have done to you and hold those against them. But what this podcast points out is you don't really know what you remember. It's a very fascinating idea that there's these events that happen in time. They call them flashbulb events. Do you guys know what a flashbulb is? I know Amanda has no idea what a flashbulb is.
No idea. No
Doug?
idea, sorry.
Doug, do you know what a flashbulb is?
Nope.
How about you,
my
Debbie?
Lord. I do. It was on a camera.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yes.
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 In
Now
the
it's
olden
coming to me.
days, the camera would go flash, and your eyes would have little blue dots in the middle of them. And so these psychologists would have these flash bulb events that would cause you to have that effect. And they would do these psychological events to study people's recollection of those. And so 9/11 was a flash bulb event that everybody would know where they were on that day. And this podcast describes it. But what I took away from it was just the idea of forgiveness rather than just the flash bulb events, because what they talk about in there is they did a study with over 3,000 people, and they interviewed them right after 9/11, 1 year later, 2 years later, and 10 years later, and asked them 3 questions. Where were you? How'd you feel? And who are you with? And by the 10th anniversary, 60% of the answers were wrong.
Wow.
And so when Debbie was saying exactly what was going on, I'm like, maybe it did, maybe it didn't. I don't know. And so if you're harboring ill will towards somebody, maybe what you think happened did, and maybe it didn't happen, depending on how far you were from that event. And so that's a worthwhile podcast to listen to. One of the flashbulb events was the 1986 space shuttle accident. Definitely, I know you don't have any recollection of that one, Amanda. So, but
Again, you're right.
What they did on that one was they actually had people write down immediately after those answers to those questions. And a year later, they would ask the people those questions. They would give them different answers than what they said a year earlier. And they would show them the piece of paper with their answers on it and say, here's what you said a year ago. And they go, I don't know why I would have lied. That's what their memory was in the short term. And so that's kind of what struck me this morning when I was thinking about 9/11 is there are all kinds of memories we have in the past, and they may or may not be very accurate. But have a forgiving attitude, have a joyful attitude, and have a hopeful attitude like Doug and I discussed as you look to the future. And I'd say a hopeful attitude will be when we jump into talking about the market. I'm going to share my screen here. And
while you're doing that, Keith, that was revisionist history, right? With
Yes.
Malcolm Gladwell? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I wrote that down. I'm looking forward to replaying that. That is a really neat podcast.
I think it's just really healthy if everybody's got a little bit of, bad blood that's happened behind them, and to realize that the recollection of what may have happened is probably not exactly what happened, and the emotions have settled, and forgiveness is a lot easier, I think. Some reason it says my screen share paused here. What you don't see my screen, do you?
I'm seeing the NASDAQ.
Oh, okay. It said it paused over here.
It's on a daily.
Okay. Let me move some things around here. All right. All right, friends. We were offering you all our views all along this journey here, and this journey here was just a beautiful journey. Don't you think?
Yeah, it was a wonderful journey. We should have just gone on vacation that entire time.
Exactly. And it reminds me, the angle of it almost reminds me of my hike in the Andes Mountains. I think the Andes Mountains are more like this. So the slope of an incline can affect your velocity of going up that incline. When I went up the Andes Mountains, we would literally take 10 steps, turn around, and catch our breath. When we got up near here, that's what happened. We would take 10 steps, turn around, look back where we came, catch our breath, take 10 more steps because of the altitude was difficult. It was hard to catch our breath. Although this isn't the slope of the Andes Mountains here, that's the same effect. When the markets are going at a very high slope like this, there's just a likelihood that you're going to see some, whether you call this a correction or just normal market activity, it's going to give back some of those gains because it can't sustain that slope. And so that's what we've experienced. You will experience that. Let me turn this back on track price. So this happened on.
It might not be. Can you hit your refresh, Keith? I don't think we're seeing your pin.
Oh, okay. Let me go back to a new share. Can you see it now?
Yes, there
Yeah.
we go.
Yeah,
There we go.
Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so this was the Andes mountain slope right here, and this is the slope of where we are. This date right here, where the market peaked out, was September 2nd. So those of you who are watching and you get your August statements, you're going to think we are rock stars and we've done great things for you. However, we don't know what your September statement's going to look like. It's going to be down unless something dramatic happens, because this happened after the close of the month. And so where we are right now, just to give you a flavor of where your accounts probably are at this level right here, where we've been trading the last couple of days, we go back to the middle of July. So your account values are going to be very similar to where they were in July at this point. So that'll set your expectations when you get those in the mail here before long. But don't get all excited when you get your August statement, because it is going to be misleading. What do you say about that, Doug?
Yeah, well, you know, speaking of going back in time, I know you spent a lot of time this January. How many hours did you spend going back and looking at historical market dates?
I think it was at least 20 hours. I don't remember for sure, but I was holed up in my study and just was going through page after page, chart after chart, and just looking at what was going on historical and a historical basis.
That tip, that important lesson to do that exercise came from I'm going to call him a friend, even though he probably doesn't know my name. But Mike Webster, he is a guy who has really taught us a lot and encouraged us to study the markets from a historical context. It takes the emotion out when you go back in the rearview mirror. And so, Keith, if you could you type in a date for me? It's September 28th, 2018.
Hang on, you said September 28th, 2018?
Yeah, 2018.
Yeah, before I do that, let me point out something else too.
Yeah.
I do think Webster would like you. I was communicating with him.
We'd be friends.
Yeah, I was communicating with him and he was trash talking my sandals. He told me I needed some Birkenstock. So I think he's a funny cat. This is why I was spending so much time in January, Doug, is right here before I go to that date, is I was concerned about this slope right here. Yes. As we were going into January, and I was just trying to determine what kind of moves we need to make on behalf of our clients with this slope. And so if you compare this slope with the slope that we had after the big debacle here in the winter time, you see even a higher angle there. But if you kind of can go back here and kind of connect some of these tops here, you can see there's probably in a longer term a little flatter slope versus the two that we've seen there. But let me punch in that.
That gives me hope that we've still got some bullish activity happening here. At the end of the day, what we've got is we've just got some folks who wanted to take some profits, and they did so on some stocks that were just unbelievable performers. And so that slope that you just drew, that gives me some hope that we still might have some room to grow.
Yeah, I think we do. I like I said, in these short-term bursts like this, it can get very risky for investors. And as I'm typing in this date, we made some adjustment in client accounts. I think we got pretty close to this date here. I think we were very fortunate. It was right around there. We took some money out, but in hindsight, we wish we had been more aggressive, I think, but you're not going to get everything right. But I was talking to a client who was wanting us to, consider buying a particular stock that had gone up 180 points, I think, in a previous week or so. And I explained to that client that that's the very reason why we're very cautious now, is that investors are feeling very comfortable with the market. And usually that's a time for which the market starts to get really aggressive in its response. All right, here we are, Doug.
Yeah, if we could go through this real quick. And you can see, if you look all the way to the right, this is just a really nice picture. This is 2018. And in the middle of the page, you can see 2018 starts, and to the right, we're basically in September. And this is a pretty well-behaved market. It was enjoyable until about October 4th. So Keith, if you want to advance a couple days, and just go ahead and keep advancing as I talk. And you guys are going to see a theme here. And Keith, you're going to go all the way to January. And so you got a long way to go, brother. And so here's what I want to point out to everybody is sitting power is huge. Patience, it's really important. And so as you can see, October 4th, we closed below what Keith and I like to reference as the red line, that 50-day moving average. And then on 10/10, it closed below, there it is, closed below. It's like you're reading my mind, Keith. Closed below the 200-day average. And guys, it just kept going and going and going and going. And this was a terrible quarter for the stock market. Now, interestingly enough, some of us that only look at our statements quarterly, we never knew it even happened. Because when January 19 rolled around, we started to see a reversal and things started to improve. Now, they didn't totally get better until about the 15th of January when we got closer to its 50-day, and you're almost there. And so the point being with this exercise and looking at things daily is just to remember that sell-offs are really serious, and we're really serious about your money, and we want to help protect your money. We want to give your money exposure to risk and capital growth opportunities. At the same time, you might have cash inside your IRA. You might have cash inside your individual account and be wondering, why do I have this cash in there? It's not making me any money. It's earning 0.0000001%. What's the point? Call us when you see stuff like this and let's talk about it, because what we're trying to do is just shelter, and there will be a time where we can go back into markets. But the 2018 fourth quarter and the 2019 year are just fantastic years to go back and look at and study. You have any thoughts on that, Keith?
I know it's early for lunch. I got moving before breakfast, but just mentally and emotionally going through this exercise, I lost my appetite. I mean, this is a hard time to work for you all. It is such a hard time. And if we don't make adjustments, all we can say is just hang in there. And that literally is a 25% decline in that sector of the market in a 90-day period of time. And that is a 25% decline requires a 33% return to get back to just break even. That's just the basic math behind this. And so if there's anything we can do to, if all we did was got out here and got back in over here, we just saved a lot of heartache for all of us. And the fact that Doug's got that Donald Trump hair blowing in the breeze, maybe some of these principles can save that hair. For me, I didn't have this training when I was in his age, and so you can see what happens to the faint at heart going through these kind of markets.
That market took away. I don't know if I could do the back of my head, but it definitely had effect.
Yeah. We love you as clients. We literally love you, and if we don't do some protective things on your behalf, it takes a physical wear on us, because you don't know when this thing's going to turn the corner. Yeah. If you just buy and hold, if you don't take some precautionary measures, which are not going to always be right. I saw a quote this morning, and I really liked it. It's like, well, let's make this decision and see if the market agrees with us. And really, no matter what decision somebody's making, that's their opinion. The point of view is, you can have an opinion and the market has an opinion, and your opinion doesn't matter compared to the market's. The market's opinion is always right. And so if you thought the market was going higher right here and you bought right here, it proved you wrong. And if you held on till today, you would be higher today. But you most people psychologically don't have the willpower to buy right here and ride it all the way down to the 6190 level and not get out of that market. So there's things we can do to help you to be more precautionary in these markets. We're not going to get it right. We're going to look at those decisions and see if the market thinks we're right.
Well, and I want to give props to Amanda here because she lived out one of my favorite stock operators of all times message. And Jesse Livermore said, there's a time to go long in markets, and in markets, there's a time to go short, and then there's a time to go fishing. And Amanda went fishing last week, and so good work, Amanda. I should have gone fishing
Thank
with
you.
Your market call was really good.
I was gone the second. I mean, I was here the second, gone the third. Look what happened.
That's all I know in the markets.
Well, it is you can rest assured that we are paying close attention to this market. We're looking for opportunities. We do have money invested still. We may or may not be holding that money long term. We're going to let the market tell us what the institutional investors are doing with that money. And it's normally this is a very anxious time in the 4-year cycle of the market as we approach the presidential election, and this year really isn't any different. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts with COVID and some of the cultural unrest that's out there, but the markets really work independently of the elections. I know the media will tell you the elections drive the markets, but that's not really how it works. And so the markets are processing information even as we speak. The markets are making assessments, and those things are bigger than us as individuals, but we can sure take a look at what the markets are saying and make some assessments ourselves. I don't have anything else about the market. We're running out of time, but one of the indicators that I mentioned earlier is that we have a good number of people calling us and asking us to invest in some of those fancy stocks that have done really well, and they have done, and I've traded some of those stocks myself. And however, I go back, and I don't know what your recollection is, Doug. I go back to 1990. I've been cold calling with Walmart stock in 1990. If I pulled up a chart, you go, wow, that was an Andes Mountain chart. And in the summer of 1990, I had finally nobody wanted to hear me, and that stock was angling up at a good angle. And by about July, and again, as say Brian Williams will tell you, my memory may not be perfect, but it seemed like July, my phone started ringing and everybody wanted to buy Walmart after it had just probably doubled in I'm going from memory, 6 to 9 month period of time, it had doubled. And I'm like, I think you've missed this boat. And then within 30 days, we had a correction, a pretty stiff correction at the end of 1990 going into 1991. And so those sorts of things happen, and in our end of the telephone, we can recognize some of those things if we start getting phone calls for particular stocks that have been pretty appealing. And so one of the things I noticed is I had a good number of young people wanting to put money at risk in the market, and there's a guy out there named Dave Portnoy that's I think got a young following. I'm old, so I don't know, but he I think what they call him, Davey Day Trade or something like that. Do you guys know?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. And so with that, I really have a passion to help young investors. And so we're starting tomorrow. Is that right, Amanda?
Yep.
Tomorrow at 9 a.m. session.
I love that you're working on a Saturday. Can we get Debbie working on a Sunday?
Yes.
Anything we can do for that?
Yes.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, so tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., if anybody knows any youngsters, or even if you want to be a youngster, we're going to talk just about the stock market and what you need to look at. And it'll be very kind of introductory and work our way up from there. So that's a response to those youngsters that want to own stocks. And young at heart, you're welcome as well.
And young and old, behind Mo's bike, you can see a load of supplies for our welcome week next week. And September 14th through the 18th, there's still spaces available if you guys are interested in coming. I can send you the link and let me know.
Yeah, please come.
Have a spectacular weekend. We'll look forward to seeing any of you drop by. If you can't drop by, we'll welcome you whenever you're able and comfortable coming by, and just enjoy. Look at that. Just enjoy your weekend. Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.